All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Just getting set up here. Yeah, man. Some of my own music here, produced by me.
Clear.
Welcome back to the show.
Emotion.
Decoded, Elite 8 AI, with Mahesh Chukolingo, taking some of these vibes here.
I give thanks for the breath in my chest, for the road, for the time, for the test. I seen layers peel back from the frame. Now I drive through the world wide awake. I don't rush what is forming in me. I don't cling to what's done, what's been. Every moment is passing clean. I let it move, I let it be. I feel the feel, I read the tone. What's a line comes close, what's not goes home. Grateful for the view, grateful for the ride. I'm a quantum being, surfing space and time.
All right,
Focused and free,
focus on free.
clearing my side.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. So, today's episode, I want to focus on something happening in my little island of Trinidad and Tobago. I have a very complex history with Trinidad and Tobago. I come from a journalistic family, newspaper family. The people who start, my grandfather worked in the Guardian, the Express, things like that, and eventually went on to found his own paper. But first, he was co-owner or on the board of the Bomb newspaper, and then he went and he was on the board, I believe, with the Guardian and the Express, and he has served in a wide range of capacities across all media enterprises in Trinidad and Tobago, and largely was in part a founding member of a lot of the newspapers you all see today in Trinidad and Tobago. So that's my bloodline. That's where I come from. And went on to start the TNT Mirror, the Sunday Punch, Showtime. That came much later after he passed on. And Newsday was the final iteration of the family legacy, which, probably is coming to an end now from our familial side of things. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, I'm just trying to show that I come from that background, right? So I'm very tuned in and dialed into what is the story behind the story, what's going on with the people, what is happening on the ground everywhere I go, whether it's in Venezuela or in Trinidad or in India or in the US, where I currently reside at the moment in Iowa. So when I get passionate about something, or I feel something is unjust, or I feel something just doesn't feel right for the larger context of society, I tend to get a little bit passionate. And often I've received criticism for that passion from a variety of friends and people who hold allegiance or loyalty to something that is not. There's my Brandon right there. So people tend to get locked into these bubbles of loyalty to their tribe. And over the years, now I came up in a very diverse background, okay? My mother is Venezuelan, my father is Trinidadian, and I was born in the US, and I kind of grew up between all three places. So I always had this weird relationship with multiple cultures at the same time, and seeing corruption up close, and watching divisions within the family over religion, over politics. And that conflict was always there with me. It was always around me growing up. And it was heartbreaking growing up around that. Even when it came to fighting over assets of the family when my grandfather passed, I remember my father going to court all the time. There was always a case or a matter of the court. And police raided our home on quite a few occasions because they received an anonymous tip from someone that, we allegedly were importing guns and ammunition, which turned out to be false. And later they issued an apology to my father in The Guardian. This was back in 1993. I lived through the whole Abu Bakr thing as a kid. I remember how the country was in so much turmoil and the excitement and the fear and the everything around it. For me, it was excitement as it was for my dad, because we always wanted to go and see what was going on. I remember my dad went and took pictures to some of the stuff that was going on in Port of Spain and interviewed some people surrounding the coup. And my dad was always that kind of guy too. He always wanted to go where the chaos was. And I kind of take a little bit of that too in me. And again, that's probably from our grandfather's side, my grandfather's side, that was always what he was about. He was a journalist. He was always digging the story behind the story. This is not to say anything really other than I just giving you some context of where this energy coming from, this frequency, this observation, right? And over the years, I have dabbled in politics, dabbled in various religions and cultures and practices, and so it 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 developed something in me over time where I became very aware and about the differences of society, but yet where the similarities are. And so I started to form my own kind of, I don't know if you want to call it opinion or view of the world as I grew older into my years. I'm in my 40s now, mid 40s, and I realize that everything that we think we are fighting for or about amongst each other is kind of almost an illusion, is Maya, because we all as human beings want the same things. Everybody wants to feel safe. Everybody wants to know infrastructure is in place. Everybody wants to feel like, things are happening and moving along. But we have been so divided against each other for thousands of years, and it's not our fault. We have been given this way of thinking by our masters, are the people who develop these systems. Because systems are designed to operate like a factory. You create people, you plug these people into the system, and they generate a result for you. They build a building, they go to work and they manufacture goods and services, and they create an economy and the stock market. And once you start understanding from that approach that that is the world you live in, you take back control of yourself, your soul. And you don't necessarily call it good or bad. You just look at it like, you know what? Our ancestors needed a way to build this world in such a way that was predictable and not all the time being bombarded by chaos and having to fight off wild animals and other tribes. And so there was an intention to build a civilized society over thousands of years, and we have had many rise and fall, and it's a very complicated thing. It's a very nuanced and complicated piece of technology that our ancestors built. And there's dispute about where it came from. It probably came from the aliens, or who cares? This is what we have now. So our jobs as individuals, as awakened individuals, individuals who are awakening, right? When I mean awakening, I mean you could see things as they are, not as you wish them to be or how somebody told you it's supposed to be. You just see it as it is. And in that moment, you are to act. You need to act and you need to do something about something in that moment. And when that time comes, you will know, because you will understand how to react in that moment when it comes. It will just hit you, it'll hit your soul. So I also passed through the COVID era recently, which was a big shock for me, because the COVID era was a time when I started to realize that the world is changing forever. The whole world at the same time got put into lockdowns. People were losing businesses. The government decided to clamp down on the whole globe at the same exact time and put people in concentration camps and this camp and that camp, and ostracize people on news and say, if you didn't get this thing, then you putting other people in danger, which turned out later we found out was not true. And then they passed new laws that gave governments the power to have overreach over your body. So now there are new laws that have been passed ever since that time that gives the governments of the world position over your biology. So if you go to one of their facilities now, they can tell you, you have to do this thing, whether you want to do it or not. So think about that. We went through a very, very powerful shift in global consciousness where some energy, some force is fighting very hard to clamp down on the free spirit of humanity. Again, I am not calling it good or bad. I am just saying that there's something happening globally. Fast forward, we had all the different things going on, the scandals, Epstein, the wars, the alien disclosure, the you name it, right? Like just one thing after the next. Boom, boom, boom. Government overreach, ICE raids, a lady gets shot in Minnesota here. It was publicized global. Charlie Kirk gets shot in the neck. And no matter what happened, there's something in the public domain that seems to realize, wait a minute, something is going on here and it doesn't feel right. It doesn't jive with our spirit, with our soul. Something feels off. And if you think I lie, go and check the numbers of how many people are subscribed to alternative media. Not the people watching CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Those people are on the way out. Those people don't even have a clue what's going on. Like my mother. My mother is in that age range where she watches the news. And whatever is on that television of the news, she will buy it hook, line, and sinker, right? So those people or people in that genre area, they kind of irrelevant at this point. They just trapped in that little world, and whatever they are told, they just feel safe in that bubble and they need to stay protected. And so they just keep their head down and they just believe whatever is fed to them. And there's many of them around. I think that's the boomer generation, if you want to call it that. The current generation from Gen X forward, all the way up to now, there's a growing movement of people and it's in the millions. And how you could tell this is look at the subscriptions to alternative media. People like Candace Owens, Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, Russell Brand, Tucker Carlson, who else, boy? Lex Friedman. I mean, just look at the sheer numbers of subscribers that go, even these remote viewers and this other guy who does a spiritual next level soul, Alex Ferrari. I was blown away. That tells you, that's an indicator. That's a marker for you to understand where we are headed, right? Where we are going conscious wise. If you watch any podcast on spirituality, remote viewing, aliens, history, those channels, those episodes, they get vast numbers of views. So keep that in mind, right? So that's just an indicator for you to understand that you are not alone. You are part of this transition and this shift that's taking place. Now, what happens anytime there's a transition or a shift? You will always have resistance. That's normal. That's supposed to happen. Because that resistance is that's where the magic happens. That's where we get to discover what's the middle of the road here. You say that we need total control to keep security and safety and to ensure that things are predictable. And this group over here saying, no, we are souls, we are beings, we are human. We need freedom and we need the ability to be creative and to flow and to whatever. But too much of that also is bad. Too much of either side is bad. So that friction that we have happening right now, which has always been happening since the dawn of mankind, is where we need to understand, is where we, the citizens of the world, that's where we come in. That's where you and I come in. We come into this world. When we are at the citizen level, it is our duty and our honor and our integrity to participate with full and total consciousness, to be present, to be vigilant, and to watch. Because your job is not really to pick a side, It's to watch the middle and to see when something fallen a little too much this way, you try to rein it back in with accountability. And if it fallen a little bit too much that way, you try to pull it back in, because there needs to be an understanding that the middle is the sweet spot for humanity. That's where we could achieve where we want to go. Go into Mars, traveling across the galaxy, whatever it is the goals are of our species, not my business. That's not this episode. This episode is mainly trying to get you to understand that there's a shift happening. There's a transition going on. It always is going on, by the way. It's just that we living in this one. Technology is moving at an alarming rate. Unfortunately, there are corporations or companies that will use this technology in a way to maybe exert control so that they increase their profits. See, the point is sometimes people or organizations or systems can lose the plot. And this is where you and I, it becomes important to stay vigilant, to be cautious, to pay attention, and to not get bought up into narratives either way, but to sort of see what is needed and what is best for the momentum moving forward. So I say all this to you because, you know, every now and again, I'll talk about matters in the United States. I'll talk about stuff in Venezuela, and I'll talk about stuff in Trinidad, because those are my three homes. Those are the three places I grew up in and around and in my blood, and that I keep an eye on, you know. And I want to make it clear that in this clip I'm going to share with these two protesters, I want to make it clear up front that I support police when they're protecting the innocent people. I support law and order, but I don't support blind loyalty. I don't support governments. I don't support political parties. I don't just give blind loyalty to corporations, to police, to media, to lawyers, to doctors. I don't ever walk into a situation and go, oh, I fully trust this person or this entity or this party just because. I always keep an open mind that there's always room for error. Not intentional, but just because. And then the second thing is, can I offer assistance? Can I help this situation be better in some way? And if not, I remove myself. Is something happening that should be spoken up about? Speak up. That's the goal of interacting as an aware, responsible citizen in any society. And that's how it should work. Now, with AI, it's going to get more efficient because hopefully AI would be able to do a lot of the vetting process for us as we enter any situation. But again, that depends on who is programming and controlling these technologies. This is why right now, more than ever, you and I need to be very involved in this transition. We have to put our voices on the table. We have to voice where we have concerns so that these institutions, who are also filled with human beings like you and I, could understand that, hey, this is the conversation taking place on the ground right now with our people. So what do we do about this conversation? And whatever they choose to do, it's their move. We are playing a game of chess all the time. I recommend that game, by the way. You all should play that game with your family. You know, the people who pay for the state, that state works for the people. The day citizens become afraid to question government power is the day freedom starts dying. I mean, I watched Venezuela. I saw what happens when people stop asking questions. And Trinidad doesn't need less accountability. It needs more, man. More accountability. All places do. America too. Right now, I'm having that issue in the United States where I voted for President Donald Trump twice. 2 times in a row because I was passionate. I was like, this man is a maverick. This man coming to shake up the scene. This man going to dismantle the swamp. And I bought the rhetoric. So I am just as vulnerable as any of you out there. I am just as vulnerable as being persuaded or sold something like any of you out there. I am not free from that. I am a part of this world. So I could easily buy into something that I feel like, oh yeah, this would be great for our country. And then once he got elected and I started noticing that certain things started happening where promises that he made he didn't keep, and he started kind of veering off the path, and all of a sudden his kids are profiting from all these deals after he just spent two decades talking about Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton and all Biden family and all these people profiting off of the government. Now he come and doing the exact same thing with his family. So what am I supposed to feel? I feel betrayed. I feel like, where's the accountability for him? So now when I start talking about the man and bringing up my concerns about him, everybody start attacking me now. It's the same thing in Trinidad and Tobago. People who were fed up with the previous government, the PNM, they went and they voted for the UNC. The UNC apparently might be doing certain things or passing certain policies that have ruffled the feathers of the society. And when these citizens are attempting to speak up, everybody all of a sudden put people in a box of use a PNM or use a UNC. All of a sudden it is about loyalty. It's not even about accountability anymore. You see what happens when you grow up in such a diverse upbringing? You don't have the luxury to be loyal to something. The only thing you could really be loyal to is your creator and your spirit, your soul. Like, do you have a soul? Can you see something might not be feeling in the right direction in this moment and maybe I need to pivot? You understand? I'm just saying that we just need to remember what it means to be a participating citizen. And so I'll play a little video from this girl in Trinidad. 2 videos from Trinidad I want to play for you. And then I will make a comment on them. The first video is this lady here.
I just wanted to take part of my Sunday to talk about something, to talk about protests in light of everything that's going on with Miss Alyssa Phillip.
Right?
Hi folks, so I just wanted to take part of my Sunday to talk about something, to talk about protests in light of everything that's going on with Miss Alyssa Phillip. Not about Kaya, not about Joshua. She's saying what she has to say. I want to talk about the role of protests in society. And I would know, I held a march, my husband and myself and some other interested persons. We held a march in December 2023 around the Queen's Park Savannah, and it was publicized, it was advertised. We went on the radio, we went on TV, and at the end of the day, everybody said, yeah, we need to do this, we need to talk, we need to get out there. 200 people showed up on a Sunday evening, right? And so it continues. A lot of people just don't show up because, of course, they ask the question, who you're aligned with? What's your politics? Who cares? It's not about red and yellow. It's about red, white, and black, right? I think part of it is people say, oh, you're so brave to do this. And it should not be about bravery. You as a citizen have the right to speak out against issues. You have the right to stand up. You have the right to go out there without fear of persecution, without fear of being victimized for it. And I feel that's why deep down a lot of you all don't go out, because you have that fear, and that is not right? And that's a big part. We do not trust the system and the people in power to let us do this without getting a freeze out or without getting some kind of backlash, which shouldn't be, right? And again, you're saying, oh, why should I talk about real issues? Why should I talk about or march against cost of living going up and real crime? Well, why you don't do it? You think it's so easy to do? If you're going to stand for nothing, you will fall for anything. So we need to get over this hurdle of, well, it ain't gonna make sense. Why are we doing this? If enough people show up, something might change. Something might happen, right? And again, when they talk about politics and we need to vote somebody else in, to only have 2 parties. My husband makes a lot of content and he talks a lot of facts and figures about national issues, social issues. People will come and, boy, when you're starting your party, you're talking sense behind, yeah. But if he actually does that, how much votes do you think he actually gonna get? Right? They'll say, oh no, he's splitting the vote for one party. That's the kind of thing you will say. So you're not serious. You're not serious about moving forward and getting things done. Or you're just like talking in circles and like all your echo chambers. So
she's right. She's 100% right. It's true. Like, look at the comments here. Let's look at some of these comments, right? Then my cousin Ramul say, no Sharia law. I just saying. He being funny. But and that is a whole other subject I could get into on another episode about the Abrahamic religions and Jews, Muslims, and Christians and all that stuff. But I'll get into that to another time. Right now, this is more about Trinidad and Tobago and what's going on. Stand up for something, as I always say. Did not stand up in the march. Yes, we too soft as a nation. I got it. I agree with her. When a voice is heard, is seen, and blah blah blah. Okay, so view more comments. For the most part, the comments seem to be somewhat in support of what she's saying. But every now and again, you'll come across a comment that it's like, "Why this person don't shut up?" or whatever, right? It's usually either they are trolls or they are just people who really don't have anything really to say about anything. They are what they do in the trolls, or they buy into what she just said. You all pick these camps, whether you're PNM or UNC or Trump or Biden or some whatever the Chavistas or anti-Chavistas. Like everybody gets locked into a camp, and whatever the cause of that camp is, you all just stay there. We fail to realize that as citizens, our power comes from being unified as a workforce, as a base, and this is where division works in the benefit of the state. The state loves when everybody fighting over gender, when everybody fighting over race, when everybody fighting over religious divisions, when everybody fighting over which party you belong to, when everybody fighting over uh, transgender or whatever other bullshit, or abortion, no abortion, like whatever nonsense that they could pump into the media and push into the minds of the people in the society to keep us fighting at each other's necks and throats so that we don't have a chance to come together and join as one unified voice and tell the government, hey, you know, this increase in taxi in fares, all you're charging, and all these taxes and whatever the case is, or why is it fuel costs going up, making it harder for us everyday citizens because that means bread going up, everything going up. As what is the cause? What is the reason? Let us know. We want to know. And if it isn't going to go up, then we have to make some kind of changes somewhere, or we need to do something. So how can we as citizens help you? And how can you help us? Like there needs to be an open line of communication. And the only time a government does not want an open line of communication with the people is when they are doing backdoor deals, collecting their money because they get a special contract and they know their family going to be okay and their kids will go to school in England. And but little do they know that nowhere in the world is safe right now, because anywhere you go is nonsense taking place right now, because the whole world is facing the exact economic strife as we speak in this moment, unless you live in Bhutan or in the Himalayas or somewhere. So what the points you're making is very true. This other thing about courage is like, if you only live in for yourself, I think that is the problem we face with our culture globally. We have been sold this idea of individuality that is, is me. I had to look for, how many times you hear Trinidadians say, well, I had to look out for myself and this and that, the other, right? If everybody start thinking to look out for themselves, what kind of government you think we will get at the end of the day? Because these people will grow up through the ranks and end up in political power. And if everybody have this culture and this philosophy of, well, I for me and for nobody else, and you can't trust nobody because people just do this and do. I tired hear it. Every time I land in Trinidad, is the same story over and over from people. I meet somebody and they tell them about all the bullshit the government doing, all the things what not going on in the neighborhood that should be going on, what the neighbor doing, what that friend doing, what. And I just be in my mind, I just switch off. I just be like, God boy, these people don't have a solution mind. They don't think about, well, what could we do? Or how could we come together to put the pressure where we need to put the pressure? Or how can we do this? Or how can we organize? Or how can we. They don't think that way. Trinidadians right now think in a very selfish manner. Not just Trinidad. The whole world right now, with the exception of a few neighborhoods and cultures, I will give credit where credit is due. For the most part, everybody have a general mindset that, well, me I trust nobody because everybody out for themselves. And to a certain degree, that is true. Machiavelli talks about this, the human nature of the human mind. We understand that. But there has to be people in the society, leadership that says, I understand where human beings are. They are self-preservation creatures. Got it. But we have to find a way to make the whole community understand that we all will perish if we don't come together to face this particular issue because it affects all of us. So when you think it's only affecting you, it's affecting all of us the same way, right? If we don't try to address the issues, talk about it openly, whether that is through protests or going on podcasts or going on a radio show or talking to your neighbors or whoever and figuring out, okay, we see the problem, we understand the problem, and we have the technology. We have the technology to rally around each other much more effectively and efficiently. You have Facebook, you have AI, you have YouTube, you have Instagram, you have TikTok, you have every tool at your disposal to bring the society together for a cause, whatever that cause is, not my business. I'm talking about in general, right? As she say, if there's something that's a concern or an issue, it should be able to freely discuss it. And if the government decides that they want to clamp down on your voice, even more so the society is supposed to be like, wait a minute. We can't have a society that holds each other accountable if this is the action you're going to take. Right? And I'm going to tell you guys something. In my own personal life, I have seen corruption up close and personal in Trinidad and Tobago from the level of the state, in Venezuela, even here in the United States, in town politics, the kind of corruption that's been going on, you guys don't even have a clue. Because human nature is human nature. And this is why we have to hold each other accountable. We are human beings and we naturally tend to fall into the selfish mindset. That is a natural part of our survival mechanism. But we could thrive together, but we have to kind of coach each other. We have to be patient with each other. We have to say, yo, listen, you don't have to worry about trying to survive. We all in this together. Let we work to get this done together. But we cannot get there until we address our fallacies, our faults within ourselves. And that's a different topic. That's a spiritual topic. This is why spirituality in society, to me, in our culture, is important. You know, in the old days when you walk past your elder, you used to say good morning, good evening, good afternoon, you know, uncle, auntie. You know, all those things have gone from the society now. People sometimes don't even look up at you in public, right? Just like how the state wants it. And when you get on social media and you see these comment sections, you start going, wow, boy, some of these people real lack a soul, man. Because the kind of comments people say is like they don't put any thought into it. They just attack like bleh, like venom. This lady here have quite a bit of negative comments, which I ignored because I was like, man, not even worth the time. Now we go to the main person I want to introduce you all to, which is the last person of the show who I think is doing a really great job.
arrest for other people to...
Right? Her name is Alyssa Phillip. And she also goes on to make a few good points, right? And so I'll just play it for you. Let's go with... Let's hear what she has to say.
my arrest for other people to start speaking out.
That's
I even
true.
saw Nyla Blackman made a video.
I did.
I was so proud of her.
Yeah.
And I just want to encourage her to, not to feel intimidated, because I know plenty of people trying to attack her and say that it's not her place and she should stay outside that. No, this is our country. All of us living here. It don't matter who you are, whether it be pastor, president, just a normal civilian. You have the right to speak out on the affairs and the things that are happening in your country.
Welcome back to another episode of the Faith Podcast, Faith and Determination Executed, where we interview various leaders across the country. As you all know, we are interviewing women right now, and we are currently in the capital city of Trinidad and Tobago, Port of Spain. Today, we have a very interesting guest. She's young, she's passionate, she's courageous. Many actually call her the voice of New Age activism. Today, we have none other than Miss Alyssa Phillip.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, I've been seeing you a lot of the news lately, Gail.
Yeah.
It don't be easy. So, Alyssa, first of all, thank you for your time. I know your schedule is very busy these days. For those who are watching right now and do not know who's Alyssa, before all the protests and all the national attention, who is Alyssa Phillip?
Well, it's funny that you asked that question because right now, with all the assumptions,
Yes.
everybody feel they know Alyssa better than Alyssa. And the thing is, this isn't the first time that my name has been out in the public. 10 years ago, before I got baptized, I was only 15 years old at the time, but I would have wrote and sung the answer back to Orlando Octave single. The soca
Really?
song, yeah. And that was the first time my name really went public. I would walk, you know, out and people would recognize me. And I was only 15. I was still in school.
Okay.
That was the first time I would have been exposed to a vast amount of ridicule, even though some people would have been, you know, commending me, most people, but still there was a lot of ridicule.
About the song?
About just, you know, how Trini people
we
know, so
we know.
about like why this girl so young and she talking about singing about them things, you know? So
we know how Trini people is. We grew up in it. One thing about growing up in the West Indies and the Caribbean is you get so much, and to some degree, I'm blessed and I'm thankful for it. Because I grew up in such a very harsh environment in the Caribbean, America is nothing for me. I could handle the stuff here. People think they're insulting you, they're attacking you. It's like, bitch, please. I grew up in the Caribbean. I grew up in the West Indies. Like the most hateful thing or the most heinous attacks you could get from somebody, even from in your own family or neighbors or people you thought you was close to, and they will say some things and rip you to shreds. And you will come back out here and even your own marriage. Listen, Trinidadian people, we have a way of speaking that we could scar us up. We could scar you, right? So, to some degree, that has built some level of resilience in us as a people, and that's something that we should be grateful for. But we should also learn some compassion and some ability to have some empathy and put yourself in other people's shoes and try to understand where somebody coming from. Because a lot of time attacks really is something that's coming from within you that feels like, you know, you feel an attack because you latch on to some kind of idea or some kind of belief that you hear some new information and it threatens that you attach your identity to. And so that is where you attack because you feeling like your idea, you fight so hard to get this idea in your mind and you lock onto it. And now you hearing some new information or some new perspective and you fall apart. And then you start attacking and saying some really nasty things. So that is really more of a reflection on that person, on all of us, really.
yeah, I'm not new to the opinions and the voices around me. So I believe all that would have been shaping me for, you know, now and more noises around me, you know. Apart from that, I would say that Alyssa is a young woman who was always outspoken. My mother never tried to diminish my voice, even when people around her would say, why have the child speaking out so? And he had a nip down in the bud, and she'd be like, leave my child just how she is.
So probably your girl was always talking to
Yeah, because she says she not disrespecting nobody, she not saying nothing wrong, she voicing how she feels.
Yeah.
You know, and my dad, he never grew me up as no little princess. He grew me up as one of the boys. Rough around the edges, very tough, you know, and I think all of that shaped me into the woman I am today. I'm a business owner. The business I would have, you know, carried on from my dad because he started it and I continued it.
Nice.
2 years ago, I would have continued it. Apart from the business side of me, I went to Bishop Anstey High School. I didn't like school.
Bishops one time.
Big up Bishops. I love my school, but I didn't like school. If you understand what I mean.
Definitely.
And I left school with 16 passes, 8 from CSEC, 8 from Cape.
Cool.
And I have never used a single one of them till this day. Because
that's crazy.
I never really wanted to go to university or, you know, further my education. And a lot of people sometimes turn their nose on that and think, Brad, you like you and you're not in university.
The people who just turn their nose to this kind of thing, you'll notice is people who really don't do anything with their life. They are very fearful people and they usually wouldn't take any risk in their lives. So they put their nose up at people like her who found a path outside the norm of where society said you should go or was considered normal. And that is okay. So I actually always take a sense of pride in me. Anytime somebody criticizing me or pointing out how I didn't graduate university or I didn't have no big degree or I don't have this big job or whatever, I always smile inside because I always immediately know that person has revealed who they are to me. And at that point, I just go, I ain't had to worry about that person. They already let me know they belong to the system, they're a part of the system, and they are blind to hearing anything alternative or anything that could broaden the horizons of their experience, right? And from the time you know you meet somebody like that, it's like you don't have to waste your energy. You just preserve your energy, you smile, and you go your way. Because you will meet people who understand you and who could relate to you and talk to you. Save your energy for those people. The people who comment at you sideways, just smile because you don't know already they're trapped and they wish they could be you in some level. They wish they could have that freedom. I have worked in many jobs where I speak freely, I talk how I am, and I just be myself and I'm not sucking up to nobody. I just doing my job good and I'm talking how I to talk. And you see the politics. There's your coworker will see you being that way. I used to get people in the job, my last job, telling me, "You so free, boy. You so free. You don't ever worry about that." I was like, no, I don't worry. Because if me being how I am gets me squeezed out of a place, that means I'm not meant to be here. I'm supposed to be going somewhere else. So I've always taken that approach to life, and I'm comfortable with it and okay with it, right? Yes, do I have moments I get depressed and I feel sad and I feel like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna make it, and do I have insecurities? Do I have issues that I'm dealing with, or things that I feel insecure about? Yes, just like anybody else. Even the same person who have the degree and who followed all the rules in life, they're going through the same process as me, right? The only thing is I don't have anything to stand on. I have no leg to stand on. And to some degree, that gives you the ability to say, you know what? Well, I have nothing to lose. Let's take the next step. Let's see what happens because I have nothing to lose, right? And something is, I think that's where my courage comes from now that I'm talking about it with you all. And I think that's probably where, and she has a lot to lose. She has a business, she has a legacy to carry on. So it's not necessarily that everybody will have their own reasons, I guess, but just the courage, I think, comes from understanding that you came to this life, you have a certain amount of time in this life, you don't know how long it is. Why not live it to the fullest? Why not give it your full attention, your full focus, your full direction, and just be present because you don't know when your minute is up. And that's kind of what keeps me moving through all the heartache, the betrayal, the pain, the suffering, the sadness, the depressions, the whatever I have been through in my life, and she has, and you have. That's the courage. The courage to keep moving through is courage. And if you had enough courage to get up today and start your day, that is a very courageous act. The courage to face yourself and go, maybe I was wrong. Or maybe I didn't have all the answers. Or maybe I didn't have all the evidence or whatever the case is. Or maybe my actions were not 100% productive. Maybe I need to reconsider my approach, who I am, how I approach life, how I deal with things, right? Maybe I've heard the same message come across from people many times about something. Maybe I should take a look at that and see if there's any validity there. Maybe I should observe myself more, see what's going on. What am I permitting? What am I allowing in my own life? What do I want for my future children if I have any? What kind of a world do I want for the people coming after me? You understand? Like, you have to have some level of reckoning with yourself. That's where courage comes from. To face yourself, to ask yourself the hard questions, to say, hey, even if I drop dead right now, what did I leave behind? What did I do when I was here? How did I handle situations that were confronting me every day? Right? So like that's kind of, I just trying to help you. If you feel or you think you don't have courage, you do. You have more courage than you give yourself credit for. You just don't acknowledge it. You know what I'm trying to say? You don't acknowledge your courage. And most of us don't. It takes a lot of courage just to get up every day and live. You understand? It takes a lot of courage just to get up every day and start your day. That is courage. So give yourself some credit. And you know that at any moment, your time could be up. Just that little awareness alone of how fragile your moments are is enough to give you courage to say, well, I have nothing to lose right now. Let me speak up. Let me voice my opinion about this matter. Let me see if I could teach something or if I could learn something. Because it's a two-way street. You share, and maybe somebody has the information that's a little bit better than your information, and they feed you back the information, and you go, I never considered that. That's interesting. I'll take a look into that. Or I will analyze it, or I will sit with it for a week and think it through. We don't have to jump on bandwagons, and we don't have to be a part of any group or any tribe. You don't have to. If you believe in the Almighty Creator, whether you're a Christian, a Buddhist, a Hindu, whatever you call yourself, if you truly have a connection with the divine, you don't have to hold on to anything this world gives you. You can navigate through it. Right? So just and try to treat life like a video game.
Advocacy, but I knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted to go into business. I knew I didn't want to be put in a box.
Right.
I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
You say put in a box and they show KFC box. No, I was just a small.
I wanted to expand my horizon and be able to freely do what I have to do. And now it is working out for me because imagine I had an employer and they seen me on the news and now my job is on the line.
Correct.
And I have to study, you know, I have this to do, I have to do, I have bills to pay, and I can't speak freely because an employer is in control of me. And that is why I knew that that path wasn't for me from even at a young age.
All of us.
And I never really liked feeling restricted.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, that's Alyssa. I'm a daughter. I'm 25 years old. I'm a friend. I have a lot of friends who continue to support and encourage me. A lot of family members who do the same to continue to support and encourage me. I'm a woman of God. I got baptized 2 years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
love that.
Yeah, that's what Alyssa is.
That. I really appreciate that background, and I'm pretty sure the persons listening will appreciate that because I did not know that you were involved in so much different things at such a very young age as well. So kudos to you for that. So at what point did you begin activism in this sense? And do you remember the moment when you stopped just caring about it, but you decided that I am willing to sacrifice to be an activist and fight for what you actually believe in?
Well, funny enough, I never really considered myself an activist.
Okay.
I just considered myself a young woman who wants the right thing to be done. And if the wrong thing is done, wants to see the people held accountable for the wrong. One of the things I would remember the most is there was a situation with my brother and I about 5 years ago with some police officers in Sawa where we used to live, and they took him out the vehicle and they was roughing him up behind the vehicle, and they was telling me, go back inside the car. And I went in the car and sat down on top the window and pull out my phone, and I started to make a set of noise and say, officer, what are you doing? You know, and the video made news. Our current Homeland Security Minister even had comments to say on it. He would have made a statement saying she will never get away with something like that again.
I look at you now.
Yeah, look at me now.
That's crazy.
But yeah, so, and then there would be other situations on social media that I would always be speaking about, even, you know, when the thing happened with the sad situation happened with Ashanti Riley, I remember that shocked the nation.
Of course.
You know, there was another situation where this would have never really reached the news, but it was more on social media, where, you know, a man was trying to use young girls, telling them, well, he's selling phones and bringing them to his store and, you know, interfering with them and stuff. And I made it public on my social media, and then more girls started to reach out to me, you know, and
I never hear about that one.
I would keep pushing. I would have even reached out to some police officers. A police officer that I'm actually who I think is really trustworthy. He was one of the guys who would have really tried to help me and help me with the case. And the guy was arrested, but he wasn't, he was set free afterwards. That's really the focal point, the starting point.
The thing about it is, right, most people, they support public movements like these, you know, but they are not willing to go through the arrest and go through the public persecution. Like, where do you get that courage from when things, the system is pushing back against you? Where do you find that strength to keep pushing?
God. God, because the scripture says in Romans 8:20, all things work together for good for them who love God and are called according to his purpose.
That's my favorite scripture. Big up yourself for doing that one.
Scriptures too.
Yeah, no facts.
Because, and the scripture doesn't say some things, it says all things. All things. So we might think, you know, whoa, arrest, that's something really bad, but God could be using that bad to bring good out of it, you know, because what the enemy meant for evil, the Lord will turn it around for good. And it so happened that it took my arrest for other people to start speaking out.
That's
I even
true.
saw Nyla Blackman made a video.
I
was so proud of her.
Yeah.
And I just want to encourage her to, you know, not to feel intimidated, because I know plenty of people trying to attack her and say that is not.
You know, I totally get what she's saying. I look in some of these comments and people, I don't know what it is about Trinidad and Tobagonians, but we have this weird relationship with emotions where we latch on to these stories. Like, for example, in the comment section, somebody talking about or brought up the fact that why she didn't call out how she friends was running from the police. I was like, hello. If you have never experienced corruption from the police in Trinidad and Tobago, God bless you. You obviously have had a great life and a blessed life in Trinidad and Tobago to go through that. My own personal experience growing up in Trinidad and Tobago, grew up in a middle-class family, you know, come from a decent background, small children, living up in Santa Cruz, Lacano Road, you know, not too great of a neighborhood at the time. I used to get bullied on by the kids in the village. They used to pelt stone on my head because my grandfather had built a big concrete house for us up on the hill, and it used to be overlooking the whole valley. So people used to assume that because of our house, I was a wealthy kid, which I wasn't. We just grew up very humble, very simple. My father was very humble guy. You know, we never lived outside of we means, and he was always in debt because he'll take credit from the parlor and he'll take credit from the hardware. And then when he get a little money from wherever he do, he'll pay off everybody debt. And that was how we grew up. We grew up like little wild animal running all through the forest and climbing up on tree, picking mango and collecting snake and holding turtle and bringing bucket of water from down the hill up the hill because water will get locked off and the tank will run empty and we have to go down by the standpipe and full water with the rest of the village. So even though we appeared to be wealthy on the surface by the villagers, there was a level of humbleness that we grew up around, right? We didn't have no furniture and thing. My grandmother, when my grandmother was upgrading, we would get that, whatever she was passing down to us. And we would be so excited. We get a new piece of furniture. We get a couch or we get a TV that she buy a new TV. So we get the old TV. We was excited. My grandmother used to sew clothes for us and bring it for us because we didn't have that level of luxury that some of my cousins had. I grew up very basic, very humble in that sense. We didn't grow up with no set of riches and we struggled plenty, man, growing up. But it was weird, the struggle, because we grew up visually appearing as wealthy and also having the last name, because everybody associated the last name with my grandfather and the newspapers and all this stuff. But physically, we lived poor, if that says anything. We used to tote bucket of water. We used to have to ration water. Sometimes current will get cut and we had to put candle for like months at a time until we could afford to turn back the current. Like, I grew up, I appreciate to this day, I grew up with that because it gives me a lot of gratitude for things in my life today. And I also see that I have a privilege that some of my cousins don't have, because some of my cousins never experienced that life, right? They kind of grew up having a lot, and still they suffer with certain things. But because I kind of went through that pressure, it gave me a certain versatility where I could kind of go anywhere. And then on top of that, the military background add another dimension to it. So I was able to be very versatile because of the upbringing I had. The point is, I went through attacks from kids in the village who would pelt stone at my head, gravel stone, and hit me in my head and tell me I was a rich so and whatever. And I had to ignore it and I had to collect the hits, right? I've been robbed on the way from school, walking from school. Two African boys start calling me coolie, and you're a stupid coolie. And out of the blue, I was just walking from school in my khaki pants and blue shirt. And he said, I like your shoes, boy. Give me your shoes. And I didn't have no kind of shoes. We used to buy cheap shoes. My mother would buy Trojan or like Bata or one of them cheap shoes. And he just harassing me. And this was close to like Saddle Road going up by Bogue Mulatress inside there. And I just stop and turn around and take off my shoes and hold it up and say, if you want it, you could have it. I don't need it. Because I was always that kind of boy since I growing up. Because I watched my father do it. My father used to do that with people. And the boy watched me and he say, you're real crazy, eh? And he walk off and leave me. And he spare my life. I don't know what's going to happen then, but that's what happened. Going forward, because of all the court cases and stuff going on, somebody calling an anonymous tip about my family, my father, and all kind of thing, and police raid. 3 buses from Port of Spain raided our home in Santa Cruz, Lacano. They didn't find nothing. They said it was an anonymous tip, and they went on their way. And they disrupt our home. They put all the kids in separate rooms and have the guns drawn, and they was interrogating us, the children. Tell me where your father had the thing, boy. Right? And 3 months prior to that, we were robbed by 3 bandits. They came in and held my mother and my sister at cutlass at the throat. One of them almost chopped my father until I screamed out. So we just came out of one traumatizing experience and into another. Police wasn't available to come until like an hour later. They said they didn't have a car. This back in the early 90s, 92, 93, somewhere around there. Somewhere around the time Abu Bakr also did his thing. And it went on like that for many years. We had issues with the police that were always questionable. And I have a lot in my adulthood where I interacted with police, and usually things would be formal. And if I turned my eyebrow at something that the police was doing I felt was unfair or unjust, I will question it. And that is where the problem would begin, right? I've also had run-ins with the military of Trinidad and Tobago, where one military soldier, a female, accosted me I was backing up a vehicle. I didn't see her. I mentioned it in another video I talk about, but I have seen up close and personal. I have been arrested by police and taken to the station in suspicion of something that I didn't do, something somebody else do, but I was just a suspect. And when I didn't react in any way because I know I'm not guilty, I know I didn't do anything wrong, and I walking out the police station, he braced me and he say, you know that you guilty until proven innocent, and we don't like your attitude, and you're sitting down in here like if you own the police station. I say, bro, I just sit down. How you perceive it is your business. I didn't do anything. He didn't like I responded to him like that. He tell me, you know, we have all the power. We could shoot you and nobody wouldn't care. He said that to my face. And it's not the first time I get that. I was in Maracas one time with my girlfriend. It was middle of the night. And, they catch us in the car, whatever. And we get into a little bit of a heated discussion because he was calling me a coolie. And again, they always go to race and saying all kind of thing about me to my face and my this and that. And they start hitting on her. And same time that I call out the situation, I tell them, I say, I don't like this behavior. This don't seem like a just kind of behavior. You all not approaching this with professionality. You all approaching this from an emotional place. And they were cursing me and telling me all kind of thing and keep reiterating my race. And one of the police said to me for the second time in my lifetime that, I could say you're a bandit and I could shoot you and nobody will give a damn about you. Nobody will care. Why is it 2 times I encounter the police, they say that to me? It means that they know, they have it in their mind that they could get away with these things. And then the 3rd time was I was midnight reach across a yellow light. The light was blinking, I think. And I crossed it, not knowing that the police was right behind me. They chased me down. I'll drive for about a few miles on when you come off Ryson Road, I think like Arapita Avenue, when you're going towards Queen's Park Savannah and you pass the Mario's Pizza. Right there, he pulled me over in front of the Mario's Pizza. It was midnight. And he pulled me out of the car and we get into a little fight and whatever. Because I want to know what you're pulling me over for. I don't think I did anything wrong. And I thought he trying to pass me, so I kept pulling to the side and waving him past me. And it's only when he pulled up alongside me with the gun pointing from his window into my window, I say, what's going on here? And he decided to tell me that you break the light and you this and that, and we trying to pull you over for so far back and you can't pull over, because I honestly did not think I did anything wrong. So I drive in for about 2 miles, just slowly pulling to the left and waving him to tell him to pass, not knowing it's me he want to pull over, because I honestly didn't think I did anything wrong. So he decide now that he upset with me about that, and he start attacking me verbally. Again, my race. All your coolie feel, all you could get away with thing. And all your coolie this and all your, I was like, what it is all you keep calling me coolie for, man? Every time I meet a police officer, they have to tell me as a coolie and as a Indian, and I feel like I get away with this and that. Like, why? I have traveled between the United States, Venezuela, and Trinidad, and why is it when I'm in Trinidad, I face this kind of behavior from the police? I never understood it, right? Because I don't see things that way. I grew up in a very mixed family, you know. My family mixed. It have people in my family, you'll think there's white people, you'll think there's African people, you'll see them mixed Douglas, you'll see them looking pure Indian, but we's family, with the same blood. So in my mind, because of how I grew up in a very mixed, diverse culture, I never understood why the police always took it upon themselves to point out who I was, race-wise. And then telling me certain. And then when I start to backtalk him and say, look, brother, I don't need this kind of behavior. It's either you pull me over to give me a ticket, give me a ticket, state your reason for pulling me over, whatever, because I don't know what's going on right now. You throw me off guard completely. It's about 12:30 in the morning and I don't know what's going on right now. He's like, who you feel you talking to? Who you feel you? And he jump out the van and he come and he grab the key out my ignition and he had the gun sling on his chest. And he grabbed me and raft me and pulled me through the window and threw me on the ground and put the boot on my back. Same time, another police come out and say, yo, you don't need to go to all that extreme, brother. When they put me to sit down on the culvert in front of Mario's there, and I sit down, and he say, who you calling? I say, I call my father. Somebody had to come for me. Now, you don't call nobody till I tell you to call. Same time now, the other police had my ID. I had my Florida driver's license because I was visiting from Florida. I pull out the Florida license and he reading it and he see the last name and he come and tell me, he say, your family will own the newspaper? I say, yeah, Newsday and the Mirror and that stuff. He say, yeah, I recognize the name. Yeah, what? Get the man back your phone there. Call your father and tell him to come now so we could explain to him what's going on. While my father was on the way, I sit down there. The police who pulled me out the window start verbally abusing me. Tell me all your people feel. I don't know. At this point, I think it's a racial matter for he. All your people feel that all you could get away with whatever all you want. But let me tell all you something. I could shoot you here right. This is number 3. I could shoot you here right now. Say you was a bandit. And nobody ain't gonna do nothing about it. Number 3. So that is 3 times in my lifetime that I had a police officer verbally tell me that they could done my worries for me and nobody wouldn't care. So when I saw the video of Joshua Samaru and he girl speeding from the police and they get shoot, I didn't give them no blame. Because you don't know what was going on behind the scenes for that incident to take place. You don't know what corruption the police in. That these people probably, God forbid, but I'm just going to give you a hypothetical scenario. This is just a hypothetical for you to consider in your mind as a Trinidadian. I just told you some personal stories of police telling me to my face that they could done my worries and nobody wouldn't care. Which lets you know the level of power that they know they think they have to deal with people. Right? So there's already a ego power trip going on with police in Trinidad and Tobago. That is just on the human level. So if we know that exists, and we also know, because when I was living in Lacano in Santa Cruz, it used to have a police car coming up to buy weed by a shop right down the hill from we house. I used to see it every day. You used to pull up, little transaction used to take place, and you go away. Police car. So as Trinidad and Tobagonians, we know the level of corruption that exists within the police force. Not all police. It have people who actually join the police to protect and serve, and there are good people, and you will find them, just like Alyssa said, she has a police officer that she deals with, that she knows she could trust, and there are good people, but there are also people within these organizations who are corrupt, and it happens here in America, which is why we have something called the Internal Investigation Services of the police force here in America. Every agency has an internal investigatory group that has to act as a third party member to investigate something, because sometimes the police may not be 100. So let's hypothetically talk about Joshua Samaru and her, right? Let's assume, and this is why investigations are important, that maybe the police said to themselves, you know what, these people, they're desperate, they need a hustle. He approached Joshua and say, yo, you need to be my front man on the front lines for pushing wherever. I will supply you. You just had to be my salesman. Let me say there was a disagreement about something. And they say, hey, you know who you messing with? Who's the police, you know? Nobody ain't go take your side. They go take my side. So now when you see the police now, he don't know he day is done, because they already told him in advance that they're going to kill him. So he decide now, well, I have my girl with me, and you know, we get into some illegal shit, and the police involved with this, and nobody ain't gonna take my side because the police is the police. And so in that instance, he get panic and he run. I just say in a hypothetical story, because anything is possible until you investigate. I am just telling you a possible scenario. So he run because he was involved in illegal activity, but he was also involved with the law, because a lot of the police members in Trinidad and Tobago are involved in some illegal shit. Right? And they know they could use the poor people of society to push the whatever thing and act as the front man. And whenever those people become compromised or run the risk of something, they tie up loose ends. And they kill off that person. And you know what? It was a police shootout and they're gone now. So now the police clear. So the reason I'm telling you this hypothetical story, not because it's true, not because it is something that happened, but because until a thorough investigation is done on all fronts by a third party, we will never truly know why they ran from the police. But I could tell you this, me personally, given the experience I have had with the police of Trinidad and Tobago, I don't trust them as far as I could trust stone. Because I have had too many experiences to show me that a lot of these people are on a power trip, and some of them holding a grudge with certain races in Trinidad and Tobago. Some of these people only see race when they see you. Right? So all I'm telling you is, instead of you shouting, why they run from the police? Why they run from the police? What is that your concern? That is not for you. That is for investigation to take place and to find out. That is not your business why we run for. I could tell you right now, I could see myself in that position running from the police if I know my life was in danger. If I know by some way that these people was going to done my worries, because they just tell you to your face in Trinidad, well, I could say you's a bandit and I could shoot you and nobody ain't coming for you. Nobody ain't going to take your side. They just tell me that to my face. I live in 3 countries. I'm doing pretty well for myself. I've served in the U.S. Army. I work in journalism. I move around a lot. I'm very well spoken. I speak up for myself. If I see something wrong, I stand up to it. I have faced these people head on. And they have told me that they could done my worries and nobody will do a thing about it. So if they could say that to me, ask yourself, why do you think this boy was running from them? That is where your investigative mind needs to come into play. The fact that they run means that something threatened their existence, their life. They knew something that you and I didn't know. And let me tell you something, when you know your life is going to end, your self-preservation mechanism will kick in and you will do anything to try and save your own life. And it just so happened that by the grace of God, he lost his life in front of camera. So the whole of Trinidad could see. And everybody out here with a perfect, beautiful life, who never experienced crime, who never sit down in a jail cell, who never had to deal with police, who probably believe that everything the state does is perfect, and only because it's their party in power. Because if it was the other party in power, that same person will be out protesting in the street. But only because it's somebody they vote for. They can't afford to song like, boy, we being critical of who we vote for, because then that would mean they have to put themselves into question. And most people cannot put this self in question. They just get like a heart attack almost, like, oh God, if I had to question my current prime minister who I vote for, then that means I make a bad decision. No, it don't mean that. It means that you had hope. It means that you were fighting for something you truly believe was going to work. That's all it means. And it means that, it looks like maybe now something is happening where I need to question the policies of what I voted for. So let me be a citizen of my country and speak up about something. Hey, I told you all about my support for Trump. I had voted for Trump twice, and now look at me. You wouldn't find me saying nothing supporting Trump, because he veered off the path of what he promised. And a lot of friends of mine who were happy to be my friend because I voted for Trump, all of a sudden now they're on the fritz. They have me like arm's length. Oh, you shouldn't be talking that way about Trump, and, Israel is not really a problem. I don't know why you bringing that up. And because a lot of these people cannot survive without latching on to some kind of identity and putting themselves on that identity and locking onto it. They cannot live outside of that. They will destabilize their entire being. They will fall to pieces. So they have to believe in something, and they have to latch onto it. And that is okay. But for those of us who are awake and seeing life as it is happening in front of us as we are moving through life, we understand what needs to be done. And in that moment, when you see that it needs to be done, do it. That's it. That's all you need to do. And the more that we could come together as a society and realize that we have more power than we give ourselves credit for then. Because the state would love you to believe that you have no power. Just like the police officer told me, I could say you're a bandit and shoot you right now, and nobody wouldn't care about you. If a police officer could say that to me, what does that tell you about the mindset of people in power? So you have to ask yourself a critical question. What will you stand for? And what kind of a world are you going to leave for your children and your great-grandchildren? Although these days a lot of people think having a child is a burden now. I'm shocked to hear how some people just talk about, oh boy, even my own mother, they say things like that to me. I just get shocked. She's like, oh, these times are so apocalyptic, and the wars and the things going on, and it doesn't make sense to have children now. And I'd be like, is she for real? Did she grow up in the Middle Ages? Does she know about the Black Plague? Does she know about the 1920 Great Depression? Does she know about the previous wars, the Mongoloid Wars and the World War I, World War II, time when the Roman Empire fell? I mean, like, people just say things sometimes without thinking about what they're saying, man. They do. They don't stop to think about, they're just repeating talking points without truly absorbing it into their being and going, is this true? But since I could remember, since the dawn of mankind, since the beginning of civilization, we have always had to contend with apocalyptic situations. That is what being a human in this existence is. is facing and confronting and dealing with these things. We have always had to deal with it because we always had to be vigilant. And that is how we as a species, that's how we grow together. Yes, together, even the people who are in the positions of administration, or you'd like to call it in power, or the people in the society, there is a way to balance the scales. There is a way. And that balance comes from everybody understanding that we are all equally powerful. And that's where our leverage comes from. That we are all here to share a part of our spirit, our soul, our dynasty into this, whatever it is we're building here. We do not have to fear. Don't worry. As Bob Marley say, have no fear for atomic energy. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy. Because none of this or them or whatever could stop the time. Time will roll on. When you get to that level of perceiving, you will start reclaiming your own sovereignty. And you will start sort of realizing that you have a voice. It's important. Your voice matters. You matter. We matter. Even the people in the political office, Trump matters too. He's taking care of his family, right? But we need to remind everybody once in a while that, hey, instead of you only looking out for your skin, try and remember you have some people under you now, boy. Try and remember it has some people who want to have faith in you now, boy. So try and lead with some integrity. Try and lead with some courage. Try and lead your people to the promised land now, boy. That way you say you was going to do. You say you was going to lead people to the promised land. Show that you're doing that. Explain it. Talk about it. Show it with action. Don't just tell people what you want and then when they get their vote, you just kick them to the side. Which everybody is guilty of doing that. Same thing with you. Let's put you in the imagination, but let's say you have an inheritance to collect, which is kind of in line with my story right now. And by the grace of God, you get your inheritance. How are you going to manage your inheritance? Are you going to look out for how you can grow the family as a unit? Or are you just going to look, you know what? I'm going to take my money and buy a car, buy a boat, buy a big house, and I good. And then I go dead. That's what we're dealing with right now in the world. There's a division between two types of thinking right now. You have the people who are living in fear and they hold on to everything so tight as if it's not going to leave you when you die. And you have those like Alyssa Phillip who understand that it's not about her. It's much bigger than her. It's about her country, her community, her nation, her people, us. Us. It's about all of us. Even you, Ms. Kamla Prasad Bisesa, even you, Alexander, all of you all are welcomed to be part of the people. You don't have to be separate from the people. You don't have to take that position. You could actually be with the people. You don't have to take this divisionist mindset of, well, we know what is best for the country, so we're going to do what we ought to do, and people know what. And if that is the case, do a better job with your educational system. Why do we have TikTok video after TikTok video of children fighting each other like monkeys in the road? That reflects on us as a culture. People look at that and go, boy, Trinidad real fall in the dumps, boy. We should take pride in ourselves and in the country. And that is not just in Trinidad, it is everywhere in the world. If you don't have pride in your home, you wouldn't keep it clean. So we have to ask ourselves, what is it that causes everybody to get to a certain level of administrative power and just forget the people? Either something you all know something that we don't know, or something happens to create that divide, or I'm not sure what. But whatever it is, just know that we all in the same boat together. Might not be the same boat. You might be in a cruise ship and we in a yacht. but we all in the same sea. So I hope in this episode that you all will, as Trinidad people, the citizens of Trinidad who seem to be criticizing this whole thing about why he run from the police, consider the possibility that there's something you don't know about the case. And that an investigation must take place from third party in the groups to figure out what happened and to source out. Look, we have this girl, Andrea Barat, who worked in the court in Arima, got killed in a very mysterious way and very targeted. And somehow that case went cold. Nothing was pursued further. And there are many more cases in Trinidad and Tobago like this. We had a judge who gets shoot coming from a casino early in the morning. Man walk up right to the glass, boom, right through the glass, killed she and gone. Because she was involved in some case that was going to incriminate something, somebody high up. I don't know. This is the kind of stuff going on in the country, man, and in the Caribbean and around the world. So where do you all get this kind of thing, calling it conspiracy, and is a conspiracy theory? And I don't understand. All of a sudden, you people is just act like the world so pure and innocent, and that there's nothing to be investigated. It just is what it is, and it's done. Good for you. Go live your happy, hunky-dory life. But you don't get in the way of people like her who actually want to voice something that she sees should be voiced. Or me, or anyone like us. Because you probably lived a very perfect life. To assume that somehow things are so infallible, or there's no mistakes at all, or there's no such thing as corruption. So, obviously the criminal is guilty from the get-go. What will you do when a police officer come to your perfect life and all of a sudden the exact same thing happened to your child or even to you, and nobody fights for you? When you know you're innocent, or when you know you were threatened to do that thing, or when somehow you get coerced into some kind of bubble that you never wanted to get coerced in, and then all of a sudden your life on the line. Who will stand for you then if you didn't stand for these people? Right? We are all human beings and we all get caught up in some shit we shouldn't be caught up in, whether you're cheating on your spouse or you end up shoplifting. Sometimes it have people, when there was kids, shoplift. They don't do that now, but they did when they were young. People do stupid shit. It does not rob them of their humanity. Does not rob them. Jesus Christ roamed with prostitutes and thieves. Jesus Christ. She wearing the shirt. Jesus says Kaya and Joshua deserves justice. I find like a lot of our leaders just pick and choose, boy. Based on politics, based on race, based on a lot of nonsense. When people out here just trying to fight for us, all of us. She's fighting for your children, your future, for you. And you all out here in the comment section talking some real shit. You all out here in the comment section talking some real shit. Why he run from the police? Why is that your business? That is not your business. Let the investigation find out why. You don't know the backstory. You don't know what happened. When you're going to admit, look, I wasn't there and I don't know. From the video I see, they shoot the man through the window and I believe it because police tell me to my face, they could do that to me too. And if for once I felt like my life was in jeopardy, I would run too, same way. So now the question comes, he ran because he knew his life was in danger. In my mind, based on my personal experience with the police of Trinidad and Tobago. This is not to all police. It have good soldiers and it have good police out there. Let me be clear. I believe in law and order. But I also believe that accountability is important on all fronts. And if it is Kaya and Joshua turn out to be whatever and they were involved in whatever, let the judge, let the court, proper court decide what's going on. There's a lot of bubble and a lot of bacchanal and a lot of corruption going on in our West Indies. And we have to stop turning a blind eye to it. And we have to stop acting that only because if it's one political party in office, it do exist if another political party take office. That's bullshit. Power is power. And power needs to be checked. And power can only be checked when there's an equilibrium in the society where everybody works together. And the media is no saint, because the media of Trinidad and Tobago will put a headline in such a way as if to insinuate this person crazy, this person mad for saying what she's saying. Have you seen some of the headlines being put out by CNC3 and the Express? You could already know who owned these newspapers. The state. These are all state-run enterprises now, because a lot of their money coming from the state. You ever notice there's no newspaper for the people anymore? Everything is social media now. If you want to get real news and real feedback, you have to go to social media now, because you ain't getting nothing from the newspaper, and it's only the older generations reading the paper, you know. The older crowd, the older heads. Because they will, just like I was telling you about my mother will watch MSNBC and CNN and wherever, and she'd be like, yes, they put it on the news, so it's true. And I'm like, or she reads some article from Yahoo or something, and it's like, dies it. Like she get all the information she need. And like, that's how most people live, man. That's how most people live. And it's sad because it blocks them from really being critical or looking or observing something on a much more profound level. Right? They don't realize that their entire narrative of the world is being shaped for them. It's being told to them how to see the world. They're not getting a chance to experience the world on their own self, because they're being told what to experience. And it's the same in Trinidad, same in Venezuela, same in India where I travel, and same in America. This is a worldwide thing, man. So we have a huge global awakening happening. So it is what it is. I'm going to leave it here. You guys could come and see the video. I have it posted on my wall. It's a very inspiring young lady. I give her credit. Alyssa Phillip. Proud of her. Proud for Trinidad and Tobago. I hope more people with younger voices come forward like her and voice the changes that they want to see in Trinidad and Tobago. There is a lot of injustice taking place around the world. We have it here in America too. You all know about the ICE thing with the girl who got shot in the face, and people justified it the same way. But why she standing? Why she run over the... I watched the video maybe 100 times, and I was like, she was just trying to get away. And that man positioned himself in front of the windshield and shoot the girl through the windshield, headshot. So we have a lot of crazy shit going on, guys. Don't for a second let anybody normalize this or make it seem like you... Look, God bless us all, man. And we all mean well for each other. And we all want what is best for this planet. And we all going to try our best. Okay? And if you think you lack courage to stand up for what is right, just think about the fact that you woke up this morning